I've been going through some of my older Etsy videos, and I think this one is probably one of the best ones to completely refute a very popular argument that still goes around. It's ridiculous, but just watch this. You'll know what to try out at the end of this video, and post in the comments if you do know what to do and if you did it. But yeah, definitely watch this because it is something that I think a lot of people think is a good idea to do, but it really is not. And it might not help you at all if this is your entire SEO strategy on Etsy.
Let's talk about using the Etsy search bar to find keywords, because this is a topic that comes up occasionally whenever I say, hey, what weird advice have you guys heard? And people always say that there's somebody saying that you should only use keywords that populate in the Etsy auto-suggest when you start typing something into the Etsy search bar. I understand the logic behind this, because the idea that something would show up in the auto-fill, auto-suggest, auto-populate, however you want to say it, when you type something into the Etsy search bar and you see what comes up, people think that that means that those are popular searches, but that's really not the case. Now, about 3 or 4 years ago, there was a Facebook group that was up for a very short time, and it was run by Etsy, and they invited me to be in it, and I don't know why, but I said yes, because they never invite me to anything. And this was for Etsy sellers, and they had, at one point, it was a pretty useless group, but at one point they had the guy who was in charge of the Etsy search team come in and do a Q&A, and I was really excited. And I specifically asked him about this issue. I said, you know, how do you choose that stuff? How long does it stay up there? Does it change? Is it popular? What is it? And he just said those are recent searches, and if I remember correctly, he said they try to change them out every 48 to 72 hours. So it's recent, it's not really popular. So they change occasionally, and if you limit yourself to what's in that search bar, you could be missing out on some really good keywords, or you could be using some keywords that are not good at all. And I know for a fact that when you start typing something into the Etsy search bar enough, it will start showing up in the auto-suggest, because this has happened before when I've done videos about looking for a specific keyword. And then I know that people watch the video and they go and test it for themselves. And after a while, that weird keyword will start to auto-populate when you type it into the search bar. It'll show up on its own. And just because something shows up, it doesn't mean that it's a good keyword. Like I said, those are just recent keywords. They're recent searches. So it doesn't mean that that's a good keyword that you should be using. And this is a different twist. Sometimes things show up there that are obviously titles that people have taken from their own listings and typed into the Etsy search bar to see if their own listings show up. And you can see that occasionally when you see a really long string of keywords. That's an Etsy title that someone is testing out. So that doesn't mean that it's a good keyword that you should use. So if you take it to mean that if something comes up in the Etsy search bar that it's a good keyword to use 100% of the time, you're going to be wrong a good bit of the time. So is the Etsy search bar valuable to find keywords? Maybe. But is it required to have those keywords show up in the search bar before you should use them? No. So what I'm going to show you, I hope will illustrate to you that just taking things from the Etsy search bar is not going to be enough. It's not necessarily a good keyword that's searched a lot. It could be something that is searched so infrequently that Etsy picks up on it and says if more than one person is typing this, then maybe we should show it. But it doesn't really mean that it's a good keyword for your listings. I didn't want to do this in a way that would actually take a keyword that was terrible and give it to someone who was using this in that way, because that's just going to mess somebody up. So I thought of the weirdest keyword that I could that I didn't think anybody is going to be searching ever on Etsy. And if you are, you probably should examine your life. And that was squid flavored candy. Now, unfortunately, it turns out that there is such a thing, but again, examine your life. Now, clearly that did not come up when I started typing it in. So what I was wondering is how many times would I have to type that in before it started auto-populating? I just wasn't sure about that. And I didn't know if it was like one person had to type it or multiple people, that we don't know. And so I said, look, I'm going to try to figure this out. I couldn't figure it out on my own. So I went over to my Facebook group. I had everybody in there. I just posted and said, hey, if you have a chance, go to Etsy and search for squid flavored candy. And I didn't tell them why. So yesterday when I asked them to do that, it was not auto-populating in the search bar. But this morning when I got up, I typed it in, and after I typed in the word squid, right underneath it, it says squid flavored candy, and I laughed really, really hard. Now this came up on Etsy, even though as far as I know there are no matching listings for squid flavored candy. So that shows that it doesn't even need to be listed on Etsy for it to show up as a search in the auto-suggest search bar. Now the interesting thing was that when I was testing it out, I was really excited at first because I saw it right away, but then I went into an incognito browser and I didn't see it come up. So I went back to my Facebook group and I said, can you guys test it out again? Just type it in. Tell me what browser you're using and tell me if it auto-populates for you. And people did see it auto-populate. Most of them saw it after you type in the word squid, some after you typed in SQ and all the squid stuff showed up. So there wasn't any real consistency until the next day, because people, this is like 2 days in a row where people were going into Etsy and searching squid flavored candy. So at that point there was some consistency, but that first day people were seeing different things and they had to type in different things on different browsers to see it. Some people didn't see it at all. Some people saw it right away. And that does show another weakness in this idea of just using the Etsy search bar for your keywords. If you're only using the words in the auto-suggest to fill in your titles and tags, you're probably missing things if you're not going to every single browser and testing it out, because you're going to see different things in different browsers. So I'm not saying don't use auto-suggest ever. I'm saying use it as it's meant to be, which is a suggestion, but it's really meant for customers, not for us. You should never rely just on the auto-suggest to fill in your titles and tags. It might not be good keywords for your listings. It could be something that people were typing in. It could be me and they're messing around, but when I did that, I tried to do a keyword that nobody would ever try to use. Again, don't buy squid flavored candy. You really need to use your brain with this. Don't just go in there and take the words there and assume that it's going to get you to the top of search, because that's not how it necessarily works. And again, I'm not saying that the Etsy search bar isn't something that you should use ever. It's one data point, but it's only one. And there are other things that you need to layer on top of that in order to find good keywords for your listings. Don't rely on it 100% to give you all the keywords that you need to use, and don't use it exclusively as a way to find the only keywords that you use in your titles and tags. And don't use tips and tricks to try to game the search and to trick the search engine. The best strategy is just to help the search engine by giving it accurate keywords so that it can correctly identify your listings and show it to the right people. And if you do that, then you can go into that Etsy search bar and find things that you think are accurate. If it gives you good ideas, that's fine. But don't limit yourself to just using that. Watch this video next, and I will talk to you later.
What are you doing?
Oh, you want some of these? They're really good.
No.
More for me.